Welcome back to Jeff Randall Live. Now, the government insists the top priority is to make it easier for people to start businesses, but creating the right conditions for new companies to thrive is, of course, easier said than done. There were just under 500,000 business startups in England and Wales in 2011. While that is a record number, up 2.6% on the previous year. In the same period, we saw 500,000 businesses close. As ministers struggle with the blight of high youth unemployment, some in the private sector are doing their best to train and fund young entrepreneurs. In 2010, the New Entrepreneurs Foundation was founded by, amongst others, Oliver Poole, chairman of executive recruitment consultants Corn Ferry, former Trade Minister Lord Davis, and Sir Nigel Rudd, chairman of Heathrow Airport Holdings. Since then, the charity has seen two groups of aspiring young entrepreneurs pass through its doors, enrolling 55 in total, who undertook 12-month paid work placements. The NEF is funded by sponsorship from more than 20 major UK corporations, including Tesco, Virgin and Diageo. Well, here with me at the Gherkin is Mike Bandar, an alumnus of the New Entrepreneurs Foundation. Alongside him is Brent Hoberman, co-founder of lastminute.com, who is on the Foundation's board of advisors. Gents, very nice to see you. Thank you for coming in. Brent, you were behind one of Britain's better-known startups in the 90s. What's been your impression of the young people you've met on this scheme?
I think they've done a good job of filtering them. So I think it is, you asked earlier about entrepreneurs born or made. And as a preface to this, I think it's partly lots of these entrepreneurs or these soon-to-be entrepreneurs have the characteristics, the DNA of the entrepreneur, and now what NEF is doing is helping them give the chance, that breakthrough to actually be entrepreneurs.
So sum up some of those characteristics.
Oh, tenacity, a ridiculous obsessiveness. I think it's slightly unbalanced in that sense, the typical entrepreneur. Yes. But smarts as well, a smarts, a savviness and a salesmanship.
Okay, so there you go, Mike. You've got to be clever, you've got to be tenacious and slightly mad about your project. Apart from that, it's all plain sailing. Tell us about the scheme and what you have learned from it.
Of course, so the New Entrepreneurs Foundation is essentially a 12-month programme, and as you mentioned, the majority of it is filled with a work programme. So personally, I was based with an advertising agency and thrown in at the deep end, and I was the head of new business for the agency.
Wow.
So the foundation...
Did you know anything about advertising before?
I had never been in advertising before, so I mean it's the steepest learning curve that you can ever imagine. But the support that the Entrepreneurs Foundation gives you throughout it really enables you to use the characteristics which Brent summed up, and also the skills which you learn through their really intensive training programme, as well as the coaching which they provide, to kind of make the most out of that role. And the kind of ecosystem which that creates enables you to draw skills out of it which you can apply both on the year and also develop into skills which you can put into ventures later on after you graduate from the foundation.
As I understand it, Brent, the numbers are something like this. So in year one we had 29 enrolled and 7 went on to start businesses. In year 2 we've got 26 enrolled and 6 are now running their own businesses. Do you think that's about the right strike rate?
I think that is the big challenge, and I think there's part of it which is that some of these are just finding they're very happy. Some of these people are very happy with the companies that employ them. Yes. And so
that's not the job is not the idea here.
It's not the idea, but I think part of it is also that to then go and get a bit more experience is not a bad thing. So it is, what's the right time to start? It depends on the individual.
Absolutely. Just to second that, I mean, as you said, there was 29 of new entrepreneurs on my cohort, and 7 are running businesses, one of which I'm one of those 7. But there are lots of other people who are on the foundation and are still full-time employed, but they are fully intending to go set up business in the next kind of 5 or 10 years.
Right.
They just know that they want to highlight those skills a lot more.
So they are still in the pipeline, as
absolutely,
it were.
Absolutely.
They may come good later.
Absolutely. That's definitely not a finite number, the 7.
I mean, we've sort of hit the sweet spot here in terms of the government's policy. I mean, ministers are well aware we're not going to recreate a British Steel or a British Leyland with 200,000 workers. We need smart startups to create jobs. We've got the budget in about 6 or 7 weeks. What advice would you give the Chancellor to aid this process, Brent?
Well, the first thing, entrepreneurship as a career option is what this is giving. So when I left university and you were this age, it wasn't really an option. You know, it was very much you went into the milk round and you went to the big companies. So one of the things I've suggested they do actually is that those big companies that are brilliant filters, the McKinseys of this world and whatever, and BCGs that are filters for the absolute top talent, set up a fund that would give these entrepreneurs, give the people they were going to offer a job, say, right, either you take the job or we're going to offer you the salary, and you offer you that what they would pay to take a stake in their business.
Right.
And say, right, and your job is still there, you can come back in a few months' time. I think otherwise the government, obviously, they're doing a lot on tax schemes, as you know. So, I mean, the SEIS scheme, a lot of people are very excited, the Seed Enterprise Investment Scheme, a lot of people are very excited and are funding people through that scheme.
All right, Mike, what about your view on that? You are at the sharp end, as it were. You are starting a business. What have you learned, and what advice can you pass on to the Chancellor?
Well, I mean, everything that Brent said is extremely valid, but I think that it goes a little bit further than that in terms of the kind of culture surrounding entrepreneurship. The whole, even just the terms an entrepreneur and entrepreneurship really do carry a lot of stigma, and I think that...
A stigma?
Well, I believe so. I mean...
Perhaps in Britain?
Well, yeah, in Britain, absolutely in Britain. And I think when I was at university, I actually ran the Aston Entrepreneur Society at Aston University. Just the name Aston Entrepreneur Society was alienating a lot of people in the engineering school, in the life and health sciences school.
Interesting.
People who probably will go and, whether it's running lifestyle business or scalable contracting firms, they don't associate themselves with enterprise skill as a whole.
One thing I've not asked, and I should have done, of course, is what is your startup business?
Okay, so I mean, I actually started a few companies since the age of 15, and one of them, of which Trigger Experiences, my paintball company, still runs now. But the really exciting one, which is kind of taking up all of my time at the moment, is called Probox at probox.co. And it actually was started by one of someone else who was on the New Entrepreneurs Foundation with me, James Vardy. And what we do is fitness supplements by subscription. So we found pain points in an industry which we know quite well, the fitness supplement market.
Yeah.
And we realised that just by bringing in some slight innovation in how the products are delivered, we can really make a difference. So.
All right, sounds terrific. I could do with a bit of fitness myself.
That's
Mike
it.
Bandar, Brent Hoberman, lovely to see you.